I got scammed, guys. Yep. I got scammed by a white British cheerio guy. Now, why did I mention race and nationality? Because that played a part, I believe, in my being scammed. Long story short, I listed a camera on eBay. This guy was interested. We decided to meet up for him to inspect the camera and then make the purchase. We did. Met up at the McDonald's. He was happy with it. Decided to pay with a fake banking app, right? Fake banking app. And he actually gave me the phone to enter my details in the app. It looked legit. I'm a software engineer, right? Software engineer. You know, it looked legit. So nothing went off. You know, I entered my details. He paid, completed the transaction. It showed success, but I didn't get anything in my account, right? I didn't get the money. The money didn't land in my account. So I was like, brother, you know, I haven't received the money. You know, and he was like, okay, let's wait. Unfortunately for me, I had to go do a school run. A school run. So after like 30 minutes, I had to leave. I'm a considerate guy, right? I put myself in other people's shoes all the time. All the time, you know, I'm gonna put myself in your shoes. I'm considerate, I believe. So I thought, you know, he's made the payment, assuming he's legit, he's an honest guy. He's made the payment, it's left his account, it's in transit. If I were to go with the camera, then, you know, what if I don't give him the camera after the money hits my account, you know? So it's like, should have done the transaction via eBay. That would have been the smart thing to do. But yeah, hindsight, right? Hindsight, 2020. But yeah, I trusted him. I ended up trusting him. And there were a lot of things that happened along the way. So it's not just, you know, he was white, British. That also played a factor because I've lived in the UK for a long time. I grew up in Nigeria. And, you know, so I've experienced scams, right? People attempting to scam me, right? Even here in the UK. And it's always been from my people, you know, fellow Nigerians or Indians. So I've not had a white British guy attempt to scam me. So again, these things matter, right? In an ideal world, you know, no bias, no, you know, no stereotype. You treat everyone the same. But unfortunately, you know, we don't live in that world. As human beings, we are programmed, we are conditioned, you know, by our experiences. So the fact he was white British, it lowered my defense, right? It lowered, you know, my defenses, and he allowed the scam to happen. Other things he was doing as well, he haggled. This guy had the gall. He had the gall to haggle. I listed the camera for £3,750. In the messages on eBay, he haggled it down. You know, he was like, what's the lowest I could do? I said, okay, I'm gonna knock off £100, so 3,650. Even in person, he haggled again. You know, he said, like, sorry, can you reduce it a little bit as well? You know, yeah. I knocked off another £50. So from 3,750, I brought it down to 3,600. And he had no intention of paying. Why haggle if you have no intention of paying? You know, and that's another thing. But with a lot of scammers online, they tend not to haggle. They even tend to offer you more money because they're not planning on paying anyways, right? So this guy haggled. So again, another factor that lowered my defenses. He's haggling, meaning he cares, you know, about the price. He has, the money is leaving his account, right? You wouldn't haggle if you're not planning to pay, you know? So again, it's another factor. Our conversation while we're there, we had a chat. He didn't seem nervous. You know, his reason for buying it was benign, nothing suspicious. He was buying it for his wife. You know, little things, you know, even on our way after the whole transaction, you know, or non-transaction, I offered to drop him at the station because he came in from another city. And in the car, he asked me, he was like, has the transaction hit your account? And I was about to check, and he was like, oh, this was when we were at a stop light, right? And I was about to check quickly, you know, and he was like, oh, you know, it's not a good idea, you know, sorry, you know, you're driving, maybe let's wait till we get to the station, you know. So it's like, oh, okay. He's concerned about me, you know. I missed my way driving to the station. You know, I'm terrible with navigation. I am terrible. You know, I'm like a bat when it comes to directions. You know, without sat nav, I'm useless. So I sort of ended up, I took a wrong turn, you know, and he actually brought out Google Maps and directed me to the station. So these little things made me trust him enough to, you know, because at the end of the day, all scams, that's how scams happen, right? When you trust someone enough, right? You don't need to trust them 100%. You just need to trust them enough to let things slide, right? To let things slide, 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 slide. I love sliding. Slide. You just need to trust them enough to let things slide, and then you get caught in the scam. So yeah, that's it. 3,600 pounds. And yeah, I needed the money. I was selling the camera. You know, my cinematic shots, right? My cinematic shots. I was selling the camera just to get some money. You know, I needed the money. So okay, I'm going to sell this camera, cinematic camera. Maybe buy a lesser camera, then use the rest of the money for what I needed it for. That's gone. That's gone. You know, I felt like crying. You know, but I had to crump it out. I had to crump. I had to crump it out. You know, it's fine. So yeah, hope you learn from my mistake. Hope you do. But yeah, now I trust no one. Even babies, I don't trust your baby, your child. I don't trust no one. Everyone, I'm like this. Defenses are up for everyone. I don't care who you are. Your grandpa, 100 years old. I don't trust no one. I trust no one now.